I'd like to call to order the Board of Selectmen special meeting of December 6, 2016. This is a special meeting because we had to change the date of our December meeting, but it does follow pretty much the agenda of our regular meetings this evening. Before we get to the agenda, I do want to speak to an almost tragic event that occurred yesterday in Woodbridge. Most people are aware of this. We had a major fire at the JCC. Everyone is safe and well. 2 firefighters were taken to the hospital. 1 has already been released. 1 will be released in the next day or 2 with full recovery expected. This was an example of the strength of our community in responding to a very serious fire. Everyone pitched in, everyone did their jobs in a most professional and thoughtful way. The JCC houses a daycare center. The children were there. All the children were out immediately and are safe. There were people in the swimming pool. All the swimmers are out and safe. All of the employees were evacuated from the building promptly. Every possible aspect and part of our community pitched in to help make sure that everyone was taken care of. We have just terrific people working in so many different ways and working together. And I think this really is an example of how important community is. I'd like to take a moment to thank and congratulate for their fine work the JCC staff, the fire department, the police department, and our medic for responding right at the time. In addition, our extended community, both town agencies and employees and other members of our community have helped tremendously. Our Human Services Department was there to help people get their belongings and get home and be taken care of. The Brookdale residence, which is adjacent to the JCC, housed the children and the people from the JCC as they were evacuated. I understand they actually brought the children graham crackers on silver platters and had the TV on for them so the children knew that everything was fine. The swimmers who were there without their clothes were then in very luxurious robes from Brookdale. Our recreation department reached out immediately to the recreation director at the JCC to see how they could be of help. Our schools have been in touch with the JCC. B'nai Jacob has offered a space where they can continue their daycare while the building is being repaired. And I'm sure there are many more who have been in touch with each other and lend support. I visited the JCC today. I know Beth did as well. And this is not the first time I have visited a fire scene. And it really brings home to you what it means to have a fire of such significance and what our firefighters do when they enter these buildings. Apparently the building was filled with smoke. You couldn't even see into it. The fire, they believe, started perhaps near the men's locker room, and the lower level in that area is just ashes. The fire went up 1 or 2 stories. I think Sean Rowland may be here later, and he can describe perhaps more technically what happened, but it was obviously a very, very serious fire. And again, I can't thank enough all the people who participated and made this the least painful it could be. We know that it will take some time for the JCC to be back on its feet, and I ask everyone to continue to support the JCC and help in whatever ways they can. Beth is our liaison to the Fire Commission. I know you were there last night, and perhaps you'd like to say something, Beth?
Everything that you said is absolutely true, and I echo all your thanks to the townspeople. And when I came home last night, I thought about how, in a sense, Woodbridge is like a family. We sometimes fight with each other, and we sometimes get along, but in the end, everybody comes together when someone's in need. And it was a beautiful thing last night, as hard as it was, to see the firefighters taking care of the children, taking care of the families of the firefighters, watching out for each other, then hearing that Mary Ellen was over at Brookdale. The children, it was just a beautiful thing that happened there. As sad as it was, everybody stepped up there, and I got calls all day long, people offering to help, and it's just lovely. So we have really a good family here in this town, and it's just beautiful. So, and I'm sure Sean will give us more of the technical stuff that happens. I'm a little hoarse from being out there in the cold, but it was a wonderful thing, and as horrible as it was really just great to see our family step up to help each other.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So with that, we will go to our planned agenda. The first item is our monthly update from Superintendent Bob Gilbert from the Woodbridge Board of Education. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Ellen, and thank you, Selectmen, and to all those who are here in the room and to those who are on television, thank you for inviting me for this monthly opportunity. We're at Beecher. We're also we're shocked and sobered by what took place at the JCC, and I did reach out as well to offer the Beecher building as well as extended day program to Beecher Road students who may be participating down at the JCC, and so they know that there's an open door that we're providing as well. So we will continue that communication, and hopefully they'll get back on their feet soon. I just would like to bring a brief report to you tonight. Our successful school year continues, and we're into the holiday season, as you know, and so that means a lot of activities at the school. We have concerts going on tomorrow, twice during the school day and in the evening for parents. Our students are outreaching. They're reaching out to provide different gifts and collections to those in need. We have children, our chorus and band going out and performing. Actually, our chorus came to the senior center today and spent lunchtime with the seniors and performed for the seniors, and so that was a great opportunity to see the multi-generational opportunity and to bring the community together in a different way. So our students are involved in those kinds of things during this time of the year. Our students have also gone out beyond the boundaries of the town to go to New Haven and perform on the weekend. And in addition to that, we also have some great news. Our robotics program that we have, which is an after-school program. We have 3 teams that have been working hard this fall, and one of our robotics teams won a special award at the Shelton High School robotics competition a few weeks ago. So we're excited, and we're going to highlight them at our next Board of Education meeting. Last week I presented, along with a few colleagues, we presented our Woodbridge Beecher Road School capital budget plan to the combined Selectmen and Finance boards, as you know, and so that is sort of starts our budget season for sure, and we're ready to present our budget to our Board of Education on Monday night, December 19th for the board's consideration. Each month I come to you and just again give you a budget update of the current budget, 2016-2017 current budget. As you know, each month I've come to you and I've mentioned to you that going into this year, unanticipated outplacements have taken place, things that we did not know about last year when the budget was being constructed and approved. So those outplacements we've talked about in the past, and you also heard me say that we also had unanticipated retirements. So those two things have been balancing out pretty much up to this point with about a $20,000 unfavorable. I've also indicated on a monthly basis, as you remember, that we have been monitoring other possible special education and outplacement costs. I do need to let you know that some of them have come to fruition in the last few weeks. So we're still constructing that for our Board of Education's Board Finance Subcommittee in terms of the exact dollars, but the $20,000 or so of unfavorable has now grown to $67,000. And we are still watching some other situations that potentially could impact that further during the course of the year. So that's just a real quick summary of where we are in that respect here on December 6th.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Bob? If not, thank you. We'd like to see a robotics demonstration one day, though. That might be fun.
No.
What's that?
Is that a dance you can do for us, the robotics?
No, I don't. As long as the cameras are turned off.
Thank you very much, Bob.
We may get that sometime. Thank you.
I'm so old, I hear robotics, and all I could think of is, thank you, Will Robinson.
Yeah,
That's how old I am.
Wait, it's not that?
You know, that was a precursor to what's going on. That's not so far off.
I know.
Thank you, Bob.
And if you're on TV and you don't know what that means, look it up.
Okay, next item, Jeff Block is here to request approval for One Innocent Life Road Race for this coming year. Jeff?
Thank you for having me back again. Last year's race was a wonderful success. We had about over 230 participants. The town was wonderful to work with. Woodbridge Rec Department was great to work with. Everybody was just very helpful for the whole thing. We're looking to do the same thing again this year on, I think it's June 18th, which is the Saturday before Father's Day again. 17th, excuse me. It was June 18th last year. So we're looking for approval for that. If there's any questions?
No, I think you provided us the paperwork that you've already been to the police department.
Correct,
To get
yes.
approval. And the other thing would be any required insurance. I guess you'll be in touch with
Right, we'll
Tony
take care
about
of
that.
that as we get closer to the event.
Okay.
Yep.
Are there any questions for Jeff? If
The name
not,
of it is
Beat the Heat.
Beat.
There's a typo.
Oh.
Says
Yeah.
best.
Susan
right.
picked that up. She asked me, I think
Don't
it's
worry
Beat,
about
but
it. Don't worry about
it
it.
says best on her. No problem.
so
Shame on
you've
somebody.
not spoken yet about the insurance? Is that right?
No, but typically, as we get closer to the event, we'll coordinate with Jeff and make sure all the proper insurance certificates are on file,
Right.
which, like we did
Okay.
last year.
Fine. So is there a motion to approve the request for the Beat the Heat race for June 17th in accordance with the documents we have and subject to the proper insurance being obtained?
Second.
Third.
Third.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Thanks,
you very
Jeff.
much, and have a
Great
great
job.
holiday.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jerry, any word from Louisa? You expecting Louisa?
Yes, I was expecting Louisa. She asked me at what time. I said sometime between 5:15 and 5:30.
Okay, well, I think what we'll do is we'll go to public comment for anyone who's here, and I'll go back to public comment if new people come later. Is there anyone here for public comment? No.
Good evening, Roger Sherman, 5 Fairview Road. How you doing? I've been gone for a while. My work takes me out to the city, which I miss my quiet town, and which I love to come back to. And a lot of changes are going to be coming over to the golf course. A few things I am upset about. It was a real rush to get rid of the golf commission, which I felt that they did a great job. There was a rush to auction off all the grounds equipment, which I feel there was an ample public notice, because there was quite a bit of public property of Woodbridge that probably would have added up to, I would say almost $100,000, which I believe in the town charter there should have been some type of special meeting with that, and without any public notice, I came down to see Tony, and then when I finally got to it got onto the public town website, it gave less than 24 hours notice on the website about the auction. The only reason I found out about it was on Craigslist, and I don't think that is a good way of finding out that your town property is being sold. Hopefully we can do a better job. And I'm still wait and see what happens with everything that goes on. I've been sitting back and just watching for now. But I hope we work together to make something happen over there to benefit everybody in the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
Bob Hill, 68 Acorn Hill Road. I wanted to hear Louise's presentation because one of the things that I was going to comment on is may have been some value for, because if Fitzgerald property actually has recreational activities on there, maybe recreation should have a pass at that or whatever. I know that when that started, it was really for a different reason, so I understand why. But I did see some of the presentations that were made, and it did kind of, go into some other areas that would impact recreation. When we get to dealing with the, open space with the country club, as we go down the path for that being open space, I'm pleased to hear that, a lot of that space may be considered for recreational use. What I've heard so far is walking trails and things like that and passive recreation. The Recreation Commission had put together the 10-year plan. there's a number of items on that list I think that appropriately could fit there. Matter of fact, one of the projects was basically put on hold because of some controversy that may be better suited there when funds are available and the space is allocated. But actually, my primary reason actually that I came tonight to, I was going to hear the presentation later on when you talk about the pool. I received an email forwarding some emails back and forth between yourself, Ellen, and Rodana and that type of thing. And, when I received it, I think the person that said it to me was looking, I don't know, for me to, I guess, jump on the bandwagon or something. And I thought about it, I read through it. And then I thought about the July 27th meeting where the gym was full. And I thought about my comment, okay? And I had to make the comment a couple of times because I don't think Roland understood my point. But you did, Ellen, because you said, no, I got it. I understand where you're going with it. And I made the comment, okay, you don't have all your ducks in a row. You've put this proposal out there. You've got a bunch of other things to work out. And you'd like us to just kind of sit around and wait to see what happens and just kind of hold the property and basically put us in the position we're in now. Now, Roland Bett's a pretty smart guy. He's a pretty smart business person. And, I wouldn't be surprised if this path that we're on here wasn't somewhat intentional. And I read through your email responses, Ellen, and as much as, I'm sure the town in retrospect could be critical about things with the golf course, a number of things, I read the responses, I didn't have any issue. I thought, because that night I made the comment, okay, you want us to put the property on hold for you, put some money up. Because if you don't get your approvals, Yale doesn't give you what you want, and you don't get everything else, we're stuck with a closed golf course. Are you going to put some money in the kitty so if that doesn't happen, we can restore what we have? And that's the part I think that's missing. And I read the letter to the editor in the rights here. I'm sure I don't have all the facts. But, and I know it's easy for people to come here and, sometimes throw tomatoes. But I just thought I would share my comments on that. And I appreciate, I read the emails back and forth. And as we were working through it, one of the things that, one of the comments that had come up was we were hoping to keep the pool entity if possible. And I was pleased that there was discussions going on about that possibility. Now, it may or may not have happened, but that wasn't forgotten. We talked, we didn't have a quorum last night at Recreation, so I can't officially kind of a report on that, but we talked about that a little bit and appreciate the fact that, that was considered. So thank you. And, I know many times you get criticism for a number, but I thought kind of to balance the scale and kind of set a point there. Thank you for what you did there. Okay?
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay. Then we'll move on to the country club updates, starting with the auction.
Okay. So I just wanted to update you on the auction that we had, that we discussed at several of your meetings, and it was on the 18th of November. So that was probably a week or so after, maybe a little over a week after we made the decision to auction the equipment off. And as indicated earlier, it was on Craigslist. There were some other ways that we had advertised the auction, including the website, which was mentioned. There was direct contact with superintendents of various golf courses to try to get interest that way because it's golf equipment and there's a select market there. We also had it on the state website, which is where we post a lot of our bids. And so it got a wide, it was out there for quite a lot of people. And then there was also a legal ad, which Orange put in the paper, which advertised the auction. So there was several ways that we'd advertise the auction. And I would say I know the registrants for the auction, there were several hundred registered. Because there's a process, we have to register for the auction, you have to provide ID, that sort of thing. And we kept a few pieces that were, Billy Casper had requested for us to hold back so that they can maintain the course at a certain level through the end of the year and into the at least to the end of the year for their contract. There's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces that we still haven't sold yet. The rest of them, we sold 18 pieces, and we collected $70,000, $70,300.
Tony, on the pieces that we held back, that also included the pieces that Adam told us
Correct.
we needed for maintaining the course through the spring.
Correct, yeah, and
Okay.
also pieces that that he would actually like to add to the town's equipment.
Right.
Eventually, should we not need it. We still have several pieces there, and there's still other items that, should we go forward with another auction or sell additional items, that there was a lot of interest in a chemical storage shed, actually, which is interestingly enough. Several of the golf course superintendents came up to us after and wanted to buy that shed.
I was there with Tony and others, and not only was there a lot of interest, but there was a lot of interest in some things maybe we didn't think of, even things like wall washers and any of
Yeah,
the
the ball
smaller
washers
items
is the other one, right?
that we hadn't put up yet.
Yep.
So
Yep.
there were golf course owners there that were very interested in
Yep.
seeing other pieces. So there may be an opportunity to.
Definitely.
So is this the gross figure, or is this net of whatever the auction cost was?
That's the gross figure, but the
That's the gross
auction
figure.
cost was very minimal
This is
because we
great.
split it with the 3 towns.
Good.
Yeah, $150. Yeah, was
They,
the cost for the
the
auction.
auctioneer doesn't take a percentage. He takes a flat.
It was a
flat fee.
$100 fee.
Oh,
and they
I wasn't
split it.
clear on that.
Yeah.
That's
It was
interesting.
beautiful.
That's unusual.
So yeah, so that was a lot more than we had valued it at, and that we thought we would get for it. So that's good.
Thank you.
Any
Okay.
questions for Tony? Anything else about the auction? That was good work, Tony.
Good.
And,
Yep.
and I want to say in this regard too, several town employees helped
Yes.
put that together and make it
Right.
successful. I don't have the list. I don't want to leave anybody out, but people, it was a big effort to
We had
do
our
this properly.
mechanics there, and to make sure that the equipment was working properly. And yeah, it was a lot of.
Yeah, so thank you,
employees.
Tony, and all the staff
Great.
who helped us do that. Next, we're at the pool financials.
Okay. So I put together the operations financials for the pool for the past calendar year. Actually, this is for it also has on there 2 previous years, so I just sort of added to it so you can see the history. And I reviewed this with Anthony just to make sure we were all on the same page. So for the 2016 season, the pool collected $117,524 in revenue. And I think it was like 88,000 of it, so 88,000 was from memberships, and the rest was from daily fees. And we can get the detail on that, but that's the total for the revenue. And then you have the expenses listed in front of you. Total expenditures for the pool budget was $130,000, and there's benefit costs of $7,200. So see, total expenses is $137,800. So it leaves slightly over $20,000 deficit for the operation for the year. I did feel it was helpful to provide to you also total number of members. You can see that it's significantly increased from the previous year, from 62 to 171. And of those 171, 125 were residents, 46 were non-residents. So that's the number of memberships, not total people that are using the pool. So, so these are the financials for the year.
So our goal is to make a decision by our January meeting about whether or not we'll be continuing pool operations next month. We know the Recreation Commission needs that information, and it was very important for Tony to have the opportunity to put together the financials, which is one of the base issues that we look at. What I'd like to do now is ask you all what other information you'd like to see from Tony. I think, do you have, did you talk about some of the infrastructure costs?
Oh, no, we do have.
What do we have now?
Yeah, so one of the other issues is we're starting the budget process, and so the rec department has not yet started to prepare the pool budget, but not knowing whether or not you wanted to have a pool next year, but that's something that I think they would look to do if you're interested in seeing those
I think
figures.
that's very important.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
So
the
we-
liability of it is
Yeah.
really our concern, correct?
So we can certainly have them prepare the budget, both operating and capital, for your review at your next meeting. I think that would help. There's a number of short-term and medium-term capital improvements that you'll have to consider.
Right.
For the pool, but I also, if you can break down, if any of those are necessary improvements or capital costs that, for the property that we would have to do regardless of the pool?
Right, okay.
Or, you know, what is added by the pool being open to the capital cost? But if you're gonna, you know, if there's a cost or two out there that we're gonna have to absorb for the property regardless, I would like to separate those just to
Right,
know.
yeah, okay.
Tony, do you want to, you have some numbers now.
So
I just think if you, Tony will give you what he has now, but if you have any other questions,
Yeah.
let us know now so that we can get the information out, because we do have to make a decision when we come together in January.
Right, so
Yeah, or if you think of something and you know, you want me to get that for the next meeting, just let me know. You can email me or whatever.
So I discussed with you earlier, but I'll mention again tonight as well, also the cost differential in our insurance if we have a vacant building.
Yeah,
And if the pool operation is considering running an operation next year with the building or without.
right,
I'm not sure they can do without the building if that doesn't affect the membership to that level.
right.
But I know there might be a difference
And then
when I
there's additional
discuss an insurance
costs.
because if
Yeah.
it's vacant compared to, so I'd like to,
Correct.
if you can get me those numbers as well.
Yep, I can do that.
There's also a distinction between what we might do just looking at 1 year of operation, as opposed to making a decision for a longer term than
Right.
that. So there,
Sort of especially related to capital improvements, for
Right.
example.
Correct.
Just to keep it going
Yes.
for 1 year.
Correct,
Right, yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I just want to make sure I understand, if it's okay, the numbers that you've
Sure.
provided.
Mhm.
Even though membership dramatically went up, it looks like the biggest variable is part-time wages.
Correct.
Everything else stays fairly
They're
stable.
pretty stable, yeah.
So
I mean,
even,
a little bit more
so even though
supplies, but
membership
not
is
much.
going like this, it looks like wages go like this,
Right,
right?
Right.
Because they can't keep up.
right, because, you know, the more people you have there, the more staff that,
So that,
has to
does
put
that
on.
go to an issue of cost, of membership fees?
So that was certainly could be one thing that we can discuss and bring some information on membership fees for your next meeting.
Right.
Yep.
Because I think that's a critical component,
Mhm.
because if you're doing this, then there's a disconnect there.
Certainly.
So since we have Bob here, and he's hearing it as well from Recreation, the truth is, I'd like to see in the operating budget what their projections are for the cost. I know this year we've greatly reduced our fees, and it certainly helped us to get more members, but as you're saying, there's a fine line, so I'm wondering if they were gonna have an estimate.
It's a pretty big gap.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I'm wondering if there's an estimate on what those rates
Yeah.
might be next year would be helpful too, to try to weigh that.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe they can talk about that.
Yep.
Keep in mind that payroll, we clean those locker rooms from the end of February to May.
Yeah, and that's
clean
building
from
cost.
Labor Day until now, so there would be some reduction in labor there.
Because of the go off.
so we'll get all of that data
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Maintain the building.
Okay, anything else at this time on that?
No, if I have more, I'll send some
Yeah,
emails
just-
to Tony.
Feel free, yeah.
Thank you.
So if there's no objection, I see Louisa is here now, rather than have her wait. Would you like to come and provide us with the BOOMP report? So before you begin, I would like to thank Louisa so much and the entire committee. This acronym, BOOMP, is for the Best Organic Outdoor Maintenance and Management Practices Committee. And this group has done a terrific job looking at the Fitzgerald property and beginning to look at other properties around town. We know that in Woodbridge, people are very concerned about open space, about best organic practices, and doing what we can for wildlife. And, you know, it's a small part in this global effort, but we want to do everything we can in the town of Woodbridge. And this committee has really taken on the task with remarkable efficacy. So I want to thank you so much, Louisa. Peter Cooper's here from the group as well. Thank you. And with that, please.
Thank you. So we were here about a few months ago, particularly addressing Fitzgerald in the context of, again, promoting organic practices and wildlife as well, which was the charge. I'd like to loop back to Fitzgerald in a moment, but start with the second part of our recommendations to the town, specifically the last 2 pages of, in your packet, I believe, the other town properties. And that's broken into several sections: woodlands, meadows, roadside management, and other. With woodlands, partly because no one of us is a forester, and one specializing in wildlife promotion, we are not giving you specific recommendations other than to say that we think the town should engage a forester, again, practiced in wildlife promotion specifically, to review some of the wooded properties. We recommend, for instance, the Eldersley Wallace area, the Racebrook Tract, and the Darling House sections. And for instance, that review, a general long-range one, it would not, I believe, be an involved effort, would address things like patch cutting. In our research, we kept coming across the fact that typically it's recommended clear cutting of about 5% of a wooded area, partly because if you have a totally consistent mature stand, it's more vulnerable in the kind of harsh storms that we periodically get, but also a mature canopy greatly discourages the kind of understory required for wildlife. So a place like Racebrook Tract would have that many more birds, for instance, if there were a bit of clear cutting. Now, with the ash borer problem, it might be that already there's some clearing that's occurring naturally and unfortunately. But again, with a trained forester, I think the town would have a better idea of what might be a good way of managing these areas. With the meadows, I'd like to just remind you, as pointed out in our earlier proposal, the ideal is to be cutting in our area, because invasive plants are particularly aggressive, once a year, no more. But in other areas it might be once every 2 or 3 years, but because of invasives, it's clear in working with some specialists that once a year is recommended. That cutting typically in mid-February to mid-March. If that for some reason is not feasible, no sooner than November 15th. And that's particularly for butterflies, for instance, but with wildlife in particular. The transfer station has come up as in the capped area, as a place that has a particularly bountiful wildflower meadow on it. And I don't know if it was actually seeded when it was capped. We realize that there is some discussion about solar panels there, which obviously is a wonderful thing. But in the sections that are not covered by solar panels, we strongly recommend the cutting, again, not occur before November 15th. Very unfortunately, in the middle of the season, I think it was July last year, beautiful stand of wild flowers, plants, native plant grasses were cut. So it goes to just working a little more, perhaps, with the town staff and in the management of spaces like that. We also recommend, when it comes to meadows, similar to our recommendations with woodlands, engaging someone like Bill Moorhead, who is a botanist, plant community ecologist, works in the White Memorial Park area up in Litchfield, very familiar with native warm season grasses and recommendations concerning the promotion of native plants. He was very strongly recommended by a specialist at the experimental station, the Connecticut Agricultural Station in New Haven. And again, could be a half-day visit. He could, and this is mentioned below as well, review roadsides, some of our meadows that we could recommend he in particular review. one of the points that has come up is that when you convert a meadow from warm season grass, cold season grass, non-native grasses that start growing in the cold season, to warm season native grasses that are much more supportive of our wildlife, it takes some real labor and some resources. And committee acknowledges that the likelihood of town putting some real resources into something like that without perhaps a private group raising the funds or making the effort, that the alternative is to identify areas where we already have some of those native warm season grasses. And there are areas like that with a little bit of both obviously recognizing it, managing it, maybe even promoting it a little bit without an awful lot of effort. There could be areas around town, for instance, over by Eldersley, I think, that could flourish. And with someone like Bill Moorhead, that kind of identification would make a real difference. The Country Club of Woodbridge, the golf course, obviously the committee recommends activities conducive to wildlife protection involve eliminating pesticide use and preserving the water table. Wetland areas, a reduced water table definitely impacts wildlife. Talked a little bit about roadside management already. We didn't see a lot of obvious areas that kind of conducive to planting of warm season grasses and wildflowers, but the Conservation Commission, when I did the presentation there, pointed out that the UI activity was leaving sections now. There's not a lot of space between sections on the road that are being cut for visibility reasons. Those sections ideally, again, should not be cut before November 15th, but where visibility is an issue, obviously need to be. And then almost immediately it becomes woods, typically in Woodbridge. There's not a lot of space there, but now that UI is doing some clearing, we recommended, in talking to Conservation Commission, that town members be provided with lists of native plants that there are plenty in local nurseries that are quite attractive and also really terrific for wildlife. So that I think would be helpful. So returning to Fitzgerald, the very first page of your printout, it has been designed as kind of a checklist. We're hoping that you might loop back to it and review what we are recommending. We suggested that oversight of Fitzgerald fall under the Parks Department. And the reason for that being that members of COOPOP don't necessarily typically get over to Fitzgerald, but the Parks Department is in the field and does regularly review the activities there. We really see a need, too, for coordination of effort there, that the community gardens and for instance the tree project, recreation, if it all fell under one department that then reported to COOPOP, we think it would be beneficial to Fitzgerald. We had recommended to COOPOP that the language in the statement that users of the community garden sign off on be strengthened a little bit. Right now there's recommendations as far as organic fertilizers, but it doesn't come out explicitly saying that non-organic fertilizers are prohibited. So a little bit, but it's wonderful to see that agreement with the users has been definitely improved in the last 6 months or so. The meadows, again, clipping, ideally in February, March, same guidelines as I've already reviewed. And we hope the town continues to make an effort to remove invasive plants where it's possible. Can't definitely control them all, but the invasive plants, particularly in open spaces, become very aggressive. And where plantings are occurring, again, we strongly recommend the use of native plants. Nurseries in the area have very attractive whole variety of things. And some of them, we hope, in the next couple of years will mature in the middle of the field right across from the community garden, so that they will illustrate that there are some very good alternatives. The easement at Fitzgerald, we pointed out in the 2009 study done by Yale, there was a recommendation to engage with South Central Connecticut Regional Water Authority. At that time, they had, it was potentially even a source of revenue. But the point here is that the area that was recommended is essentially wetlands. By town policy, the likelihood of anything being developed there is, I would guess, close to nil. And it would assure preservation of that very valuable wildlife habitat if an easement were considered there. So we recommend revisiting what had been proposed about 10 years ago. Converting the southwestern field, the furthest field beyond the community gardens at the end of the road, it's surrounded by woods on three sides and particularly ideal habitat for wildlife. We had recommended a gate be installed at the end of the parking lot at the beginning of the road, and basically was sort of told that the likelihood of that was somewhat small, but we do think that would be a good idea. There are people driving in there that don't need to. They're not community garden members, and they're not parks vehicles, Parks Department. But if a gate is not going to be installed, we do really think a more much clearer sign is needed. We recommend something along the lines of only Parks Department and community garden vehicles allowed beyond this point. That's not only for wildlife, but we think it would also increase the pleasure of users of Fitzgerald and maybe even their safety. The rink, we recommend, should it be improved? And an example is putting up a fence to make it safer if, keep hockey pucks from flying, or, benches if they were installed, that at that point the town consider moving the rink to a place like Pease Place where there's already academic activity and also facilities, or the golf course. But that is an area, that is part of a wetland that is particularly active as far as wildlife is concerned, particularly noticeable in the springtime. And to assure that organic methods are being applied, replenishment and even remediation along the lines of the agreement that the town has with the farmers that use the fields at Fitzgerald, we recommend that, again, oversight be turned to fall under the Parks Department, because they're in the field and can assure that those that the practices are adhered to. So we'd like to thank you for the opportunity to make these recommendations. There are a variety of members who have been very involved in this. Peter Cooper, Chris Lascalzo, Judy Moore, Adam Parsons has been hugely helpful, and Tom Kennefick. And I don't know if any of them might like to add anything.
I think, and Andy's staff. I don't think you
Andy
mentioned Andy.
sounds very
Right.
Andy.
Yes, just for the record, my name is Peter Cooper. First of all, I think our chairperson did a wonderful job. and we owe her a great debt of gratitude for that. To me, the most important thing is to make sure that this isn't just a one-off type of situation. It didn't just happen this year, but instead we figure ways to incorporate and continue to look at these recommendations, maybe to evolve some of them, sure, but to set up the system that I think this has started so that each of the entities dealing with natural area preservation and potential impacts that could hurt natural area preservation, that continues to be looked at, that we continue to find ways to make sure that we do the best possible job. This committee's report sets some of those in play. And if the committees and agencies and departments that have jurisdiction over these types of things can continue and can incorporate into your daily and annual and 10-year reviews to really be able to measure how well you're doing, then I think this committee will have accomplished something. So, thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions for Louisa or Peter? Anybody?
I commend you for these recommendations. They take care of the general.
This is the one to commend.
Well, you're all part of it, so I commend you for your work, and I also am very grateful that we have a general, something that looks to the general upkeep of our open space. Howsoever, what I was more interested in, and I think maybe the community gardens had made a presentation to us once upon a time, but I'm very interested in how to deal with the community gardens, to keep them up and to make sure that they're all what they want to, that they're all what we want them to be, and I particularly am concerned about people who rent there and make it their garden, like as if it isn't town owned, and so they can put things on it whatever they want. Mm-hmm. That affects me very much. I mean, that's one thing I was looking for your for what you would say about that.
Mm-hmm. So can I just speak to that? That was not the charge.
I mean, that's not the charter, but their charge, but rather.
Let me just finish. But we did ask CUPOP to do that, and they did report back to us tentatively, and will be coming back again. And I know that this commission and CUPOP have been in touch with each other as well.
All right.
Yeah, and I made my personal recommendations to CUPOP on that because it also concerns me, quite honestly. Right. But it isn't, as Ellen said, under our particular charge, so we aren't reporting on that. Okay. And we had to keep, as we were discussing things, we had to keep separating the two because we kept kind of moving in that direction.
And you did an excellent job.
I appreciate that, but I just wanted to make sure that was not forgotten in this whole process.
Thank you. I hope so too.
Right. I have more of a technical question. Right. First of all, this is absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
And I agree that it should be a blueprint going forward. I'm wondering the extent to which, particularly with respect to the mowing of the meadows, there was discussion about tick control, particularly given that some of this is adjacent to athletic fields and that sort of thing where there's a lot of kids and everything else. Was any part of that sort of discussion, I realize that's also not your charge, but given that that's an important issue, and mosquito control, was that part of the discussion at all? Should we be concerned about any of that? Because I think as a town we have to bring that into balance.
Certainly, one of the material will say that one way of discouraging ticks is to cut as short as relatively short, but that would ideally be adjacent to the paths. It doesn't have to mean the full field. I mean, anyone who wades into a meadow in New England knows that risk. So it's not something we discussed, but it actually goes to one of the points I kind of skipped over here, which is a very strong recommendation that the town consider a really modest kind of professional development budget line for both parks and the town, departments that handle these kinds of areas, because recognizing not only recognizes invasives and native plants, but going to workshops that address just that kind of thing would be really beneficial to all of us. And, indiscriminate clearing is really kind of the enemy of wildlife. And that tends to be what happens. People just assume they should keep everything short for something like deer tick, but then are impacting the environment.
The problem is wildlife includes a lot of things you don't want. So I get, but that's a good
But
point.
it also includes
things you
turkeys
do
that
want.
apparently
I know.
help keep deer tick down.
I know. Right.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
And just to follow up on Susan's question, and thank you for the report and all the obvious hours that were spent. It's clear to me that and I know you had discussions with CUPOP, Conservation Commission as well, I believe. What isn't clear, but mentioned many times, is Parks Department, Adam Parsons.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had these kind of conversations? Because obviously, to Susan's point, he's got a fine line to ride on what he needs to cut, what he needs to do. But there may be, as you suggested, some timelines that he could adhere to without causing another issue.
on the committee?
Adam was on the
Adam,
committee.
but I'm wondering, was a discussion, did it go to the point of, would this mean more hours for our Parks Department, or is it actually something that might help clear up hours? I'm wondering if you went to the level of what this would mean to do this kind of maintenance of these fields and non-fields. And
So, no, but he really is an invaluable resource in this town. He's been extraordinarily responsive and with minimal effort has already started to put some of this in place at Fitzgerald. You've probably seen the middle field across from the community gardens now has just terrific milkweed for the monarch butterflies and asters and
so he's able to
goldenrod.
implement some of these without
He
cost
has
hours.
put a lot of effort into kind of making sure that the planting that is kind of illustrative planting for the town in the center of that field has survived a summer of drought. No, he's not mentioned it, but a lot of this actually, and it's one of the DEP level actually points out that less cutting on roadsides not only results in reduced emissions, but less labor. So some of this actually can result in a reduced labor. It's just a matter of coordination, but he is, and again, to really support him and other staff in town, we're suggesting a modest budget line so that they can attend one workshop a year or have a specialist come in and speak for a couple hours or make certain publications available.
Louisa, I don't know if you're aware of this, but at our last meeting, we did a reorganization of our Public Works Department and merged the Parks Department there. Adam was promoted. He is our Public Works foreman now, and so he will be helping to coordinate the efforts of the staff across what before was two different departments.
Great. That's
So
wonderful.
I think it's even stronger. And also Adam and Tony have been talking about the budget implications and what we can do in this budget year, preparing the budget to make progress on this report. And Adam is here, and Adam, we all want to thank you very much as well. Adam staffed this committee, and we are very fortunate to have someone in our town who works for the town who is very committed to these principles and knowledgeable himself. So
I couldn't agree more.
we're in a very good position here. And if there's nothing else, just thank you so much again. It's an extraordinary report.
We're moving in a good direction.
Thank you.
So we are now, if the JCC is ready, do you have everybody here who you want? Yes. So we will move back to public comment. We have people here from the JCC who I think would like to say something about the events of the last 2 days.
Thank you.
You can all come up if you'd like, or
Hi, I'm Judy Diamondstein. I am the CEO of the Jewish Federation Foundation and JCC of Greater New Haven, and I'm here with my brothers in arms here, Dr. Norman Ravsky, the president of our Jewish Federation, and Scott Hurwitz, the president of the JCC. And we wanted to come tonight because we wanted you to know how proud you should all be, just like we are, of the amazing first responders here in the town of Woodbridge. The fire, the police, those of you that are sitting right here that jumped to our aid, everybody that came when the fire alarm sounded and were able to assist us in our beautiful building and make sure that it will be here for generations to come. We, yesterday, in case you don't know, we had a fire in our building in our lower level. At about 3:30 in the afternoon, it broke out in our sauna in the men's spa. And immediately, because we have been drilling with our staff calmly and seamlessly, they ferried our children, starting from the youngest infants in cribs, porta cribs that they rolled out of the building, all the way up to seniors, many of which were in wet bathing suits that were taken out of the pool, and took them to safety quickly. And we were incredibly proud of that. We had one of our local firefighters was on scene and helped us immediately, and was there to help us get everybody out of the building. But what we witnessed last night, also from our neighbors at Brookdale, who took us in and gave us warm hugs and juice and cookies and all that good stuff, and pajamas for the folks that had nothing but a bathing suit on, and blankets. But it really was our town of Woodbridge, fire and police, and the other police companies from the nearby towns that came, that made sure that we will live to have another day, another beautiful day in our community. And I watched them all late into the night. Many of them were there around the clock, tirelessly running into the flames, running into the building. 2 of them were injured, and we're praying for their recovery. We're so thankful, and we wanted you to know it. We value every single one of you, what you do for our town. We value our neighbors. We value our members. And I'm a little emotional. It's been a heck of a 24 hours. But I just feel this incredible warm embrace. I can't tell you. You'd be so proud to know. Our inboxes are overflowing. Community organizations, synagogues, agencies, school districts, everybody has opened their arms to us. Everybody has offered to help. That's what community is all about. That's what we're so proud to be a part of. And I just wanted to thank all of you for all you're doing for us.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming, Judy. And,
Can I just add really quickly? We decided that we were going to try to not list all the people that we appreciated because the list is so long. But I feel like we would be wrong if we didn't name several volunteer firemen, including the chief, the fire marshal, the zoning officer, were there into the wee hours of the morning, well past midnight. I've lived in this town my whole life. I had no idea what these people put into their job, so it was really amazing. Thanks.
Norm, do you want to add anything?
It is weirdly amazing.
We've been struggling. Communities struggle. When I was around Thanksgiving time, everybody was worrying about what was going to be said around the Thanksgiving table. And I think that when something like this happens and you see how people react, how people respond, and how people really love their community and their neighbors, and that there really is community here in Woodbridge, I think it's a warm feeling, and it makes those of us who've lived here for 30 plus years really proud of where we are and who we are. And so I can't thank you enough. The Jewish community can't thank you enough. We're moving forward, and we're relocating several of the things that we do, and actually here in Woodbridge to B'nai Jacob, and we'll be here, and we're slowly but surely going to get the building back into better shape than it was even. So we'll be here for you.
Well, we're so glad that you came tonight, and we all are very proud also of all the different people and and organizations that pitched in and helped. We talked a little bit about this before, and we want to tell you how much we appreciate having the JCC as a neighbor and as a member of our community. You've been a wonderful neighbor to us in so many ways, helping the town when we have trouble and disasters, and it's our pleasure to be of help and to be able to help you at this time. I don't know, does anybody else want to
I
say
could
that?
easily break into Kumbaya right now, but I won't.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you all
And,
for coming.
the chief is here, and we're going to hear from the chief next, so if you care to wait.
Oh,
But
hail
just,
to
I
the
think you
chief.
have
We
another.
love the chief.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Thank-
coming.
That everybody's okay.
Say that.
Sean? So, Chief Rowland is here actually for some items on the agenda, but I think we'll start with also an update and to thank you personally and your department for an extraordinary job over these last hours. I'm guessing you have not been to sleep yet?
I think I slept a matter of 2 hours last night. So.
You know, I think that people here and people watching would probably appreciate anything you can tell us about the fire, how everybody is, the 2 firemen in particular, and, you know, how the building seems to you.
What we had is we had came as a building fire yesterday about 3:47 in the afternoon. We had the fire under control about 4:50 in the afternoon. It was located in the men's locker room down by the sauna area. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. We believe, though, it started right in that area with in the sauna area. There were roughly anywhere between 200 and 300 people in the building that were vacated. The JCC administration did a heck of a job getting everybody out, and then we were able to get everybody over to Brookdale Woodbridge, which is the assisted living facility, basically across the driveway through to so they can house them. We had a bunch of people in the pool that had to vacate, so they were in their bathing suits. Nobody could go back into the building. The building quickly charged with smoke. We had heavy fire down in that area. We had some challenges. We had a fire hydrant that basically failed up in there. We had to stretch a second line, closing Amity Road off, which we hit the hydrant on Bond Road and stretched the line all the way in. We immediately called for Bethany, Orange, Prospect, Seymour. We had aerial device come from Orange. We had New Haven on standby. We were able to, once we were able to get down into that area and stretch the line, what happened was the fire got above the sprinkler system, so the sprinkler system was basically ineffective. It held the fire to an area, but it traveled the ceiling. We were able to get up into the ceiling. We had to pull down parts of the ceiling to put it out. We flowed quite a bit of water downstairs, so the entire basement level of the facility had quite a bit of water, probably 4 or 5 inches of water throughout. Heavy smoke damage throughout. We had the entire building was charged. We had to pop some skylights on the roof, some roof scuttles, and we had large levels of CO in the building. During this point, we had to keep evaluating. We went downstairs, and we had a firefighter collapse on us right there. We were able to did a mayday. We took him out in a Stokes basket. He was transported to the hospital. At that time, we also had another firefighter that wasn't feeling that great, which was also transported to the hospital. During the recovery of the first firefighter, we had a third injury, actually, to a knee, where he twisted it because the Stokes basket caught him in the leg and twisted it. So the 2 firefighters, one got released last night from Yale. The other one got transported to Kent Memorial Hospital in West Warwick, Rhode Island. I just came from there. He's doing good. He was in the hyperbaric chamber total of, I believe, 4 times. He hopefully is going to be discharged tonight and coming home. So we're keeping our fingers crossed on that. But we do want to thank our neighboring towns for helping us out with such a large building. just to put it in perspective, the building's 140,000 square feet, so it was quite a large area to, number one, get in and get to, especially where the fire was located, because it's a maze down in there. Just to stretch hose and get all the equipment downstairs where we needed it. So, but everybody did a really good job, and if you guys have any questions, I can see if I can help you answer any of them. But everybody did a great job.
Clearly, everybody did a great job, and we thank you and the entire department. Are there questions for Sean?
No, but
Or
thank
anything?
you, and keep us updated on the firemen.
Yeah, we will.
Especially the one.
Mm-hmm.
How's the rest of the department? Are they doing okay?
Tired.
Tired? Of course, yeah.
So, yeah, we actually have a truck crew tonight. We got to take all the trucks apart, go through the equipment, find out what's broken, put everything basically in service. It was in service last night, early this morning, but now we have to go through it and clean it and make sure everything's up to par again.
So, in light of the fact that Sean needs to get back to the firehouse, if there's no objection, I'd like to go to items 6D and E.
No objection.
The first is the Scott Air Packs. Do you want to speak to it, Tony, or you want Sean to? Sean, do you want to just speak to that then?
Sure, we have, this is on our replacement plan. This has already been budgeted for. We have the first payment for it. We have, I believe it was 110,000. I don't have my paperwork in front of me. Already in the budget, and this is to replace 30 air packs and 60 air bottles, which we have to replace every 15 years. So this is on the current replacement plan.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the purchase of the Scott Air Packs off the Massachusetts state contract?
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, and the next one is a request for bid waiver to purchase an assistant chief vehicle off state contract.
This has also been budgeted for. It's in our capital budget, and we're just looking to purchase it off a state contract.
Is there a motion to approve the bid waiver to purchase the assistant chief vehicle off state contract? Is there a second? Any questions or discussion?
Yeah, quick question. I received the bid waiver. The total price, $59,413, was, how many people, what kind of bids did you get? I mean, where did you go to?
This came right off the state contract, off of,
Off the state of Connecticut
And
contract. So
you have to,
yeah, they typically go out, essentially what they do is they go out to bid for state vehicles that are of similar ones,
Right.
and so we use the same price.
great. Great, looks good.
Okay, all those, did we vote?
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, Sean, thank you so much. I hope you don't get home too late tonight.
Thank you very
Thank you.
Some rest.
Okay, has anyone come for public comment who wasn't here before? Any public comment? No. Did you, yep?
Well, David Lober, 35 Wappawag. I spent today trying to gather information about possible income streams that could be generated should we invest any money in the country club. And I know that the country club is almost a closed book at this point, and I understand that, but I thought that if I could bring some hard numbers to this meeting, we could discuss the benefit of spending money for open space, which I believe is up to $2 million now, versus investing money back into the club. And what I found, very honestly, was all over the place. I found municipal golf courses that break even on their restaurants, and they don't have banquet facilities. I found other clubs which run 60 weddings a year out of their banquet facilities and make a lot of money. I spoke with Ryan Phelps today, and he said you could probably make about $150,000 in profit from food service and a banquet facility. And I spoke to Mike Cutler, who said he doesn't know how much you'd get out of it. You would get something out of it, but that the cost of putting the money into the club to make it right would be very high, would be prohibitive. But the question that I really want to raise here is, if you are willing to spend $2 million to get open space, which is a big, which is a big number, admittedly, and then there would be some upkeep to keeping it groomed in some areas so that it could be utilizable. The question is, would the people of Woodbridge be willing to put more money in to generate a small but regular revenue stream? In other words, eventually, and we're talking maybe 20 years down the road, you might have a positive cash flow. So that really was the question that I wanted to bring up, whether a question that big should be put to the town or whether it should be left with the Board of Selectmen, because it's a huge issue. And I've been here making noise for 2 years, and I can't get any traction. And I thought, well, if I can present some great financial picture, that would be terrific. But I didn't want to come here with numbers that I couldn't substantiate. And the numbers, as I say, are basically all over the place. However, if the town would be willing to put money into a golf and recreation center and bring in the ice skating rink that John Adamovich talked about, a basketball facility, moving the seniors up there, all of those town services that are looking for a place, that would be a decision I think that the townspeople would have to make. If they want to spend some money for that, there would eventually be a return. And that's what I wanted to present tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for doing your research. I think one thing I'd just like to clarify is about $1.5 million. A large part of that is for the environmental cleanup. The budgets we're talking about right now do not yet include any kind of addition or conversion with respect to use of the property. This is all longer term. So it's quite an expensive proposition even to do nothing. But we appreciate your research and bringing that forward. Janie, did you want to?
Hi, my name is Janie Chernow, 7 Shady Hill Road. I am better known as the pool queen at the Country Club of Woodbridge. And I want to thank everybody here for allowing us to have it last year. It's been amazing. And the people who are there, the 171 families, love it. And it's just a really positive thing in our town. That's it. Thank you, Janie.